Welcome back. In this video, we're going to be building this dashboard. And if you are completely new to Tableau, this is way easier than you think. We're going to achieve this in 5 stages. The first stage is data modeling, and that involves bringing all your data in, connecting it in a way that Tableau can read. The second stage is building the individual elements. That means building your line charts and your bar charts. The next stage is actually building the dashboard and bringing all those elements together. The next stage is styling. That means putting the right colors, the right shapes, so that the data really pops out. Once your solution is built, it's time to deploy it so that your stakeholders can actually view the results through Tableau online. To begin our journey, we're going to start with data modeling, and that involves bringing the data together so that Tableau can actually read it and build the visualizations. So if you want to follow along with this tutorial, just click the link in the description below and it will take you to the Jellyman education website. And if you scroll down here in the next section, you'll see this coming from YouTube section. Simply click this link. It will take you to Google Drive, and then up here, you simply download the file and you're ready to go. That's it. Once you've downloaded the dataset, it'll be in a zip format. Simply extract it and you'll get these 3 files, which are 2 images and the main dataset. So I've got Tableau open now in the background, and a very important first step is just to close the file that we were looking at, just so Tableau can read it. Otherwise, you're going to have 2 softwares trying to read the same file. And we're simply going to drag and drop this file into Tableau Desktop. That's it. So drag and drop, and that's going to feed our dashboard. So here we are. So remember that we're first going to do a union. And if you're not familiar with union, really, you're just stacking the data set on top of each other. So you have a full set, because if you have 2019 data in one place, 2022, when you build a visualization, you can't build it off both if they're separated. So we're going to stack them using a union, and unions in Tableau is super easy. We're going to bring 2019 in. So you simply drag it into the canvas like so. And what Tableau is going to do as a first step is going to read all the information in that file, all the field headings, everything that's inside. It's going to assign data types up here. And then what we do is we're going to bring 2022 and stack it underneath 2019. So I'm going to drag 2022. And if you just go underneath this, it'll union to the 2019 data. So if I just put it under there, okay, and you're now going to see this symbol change. And if you ever want to see what's inside the union, just click the triangle and go edit union. And from there, you're going to see the files that you brought in. There you go. Okay. If I scroll to the right, you're going to see it's going to be a full data set. And then the last step is we want to join this with the order status so that we can actually bring the status in. Again, we're trying to piece everything together. Now, people get confused with this step, where if you bring in order status, you see this squiggly line. This is not actually what we want. If you want to learn the difference between relationships and joins, that's a whole nother video. For now, what we want to do is do a join. Okay, so the way we do that is we simply double click. Let me get my square tool. We're going to double click this, and it's going to open it up. Okay, so now we can see the union inside. You see a little graphic there, and we're going to bring order status in. And this is where you do your joins, your inner joins, left joins, right? And this is where people get confused, right, between relationships and joins. And in this case, for our data, it's a one-to-one, and everything matches out. So we're just going to stick with an inner join. I don't want this whole lesson to be about joins. And the whole thing, Tableau is very smart. It already knows to connect things using the order ID. Okay, so it's going to piece it together. And once you've done that, close this. We can close this one. And now we have our full data set. And you can see the order status here on the right, and see, hopefully I can get my drawing tool out. You can see it right there, and it's brought the data right in. Okay, so that is basically the first step, which is just bringing your data into Tableau Desktop. Now that we've completed the first step, which is the data modeling, we're going to move on to the next one, which is building the individual elements. So here we are in Tableau, and you can see the finished dashboard. And I want to show you just how do you go from the nothing to building this. For example, if you look at this one, it's really just a number, and this is just a line chart with some styling. That's it. So let's start by building this one. And once you do that, you'll realize that that's actually the same as building this one and this one and this one. The main difference is really just this is being filtered. This one is being filtered by a certain field. That's it. So what we can actually do as a cheat is build this first one and then duplicate it 4 more times. And that saves so much time. So let's start with that. And here we go. So we got the data set in here. And what we're going to do is build a simple line chart with a date. And we're going to use order date and the order ID. So we're going to count the number of orders that there are in the data set and then split them by the actual date. So some people get confused with the right-click drag method, because if I right-click drag the order date into columns, it's going to bring up this window and it lets me choose the type of granularity I want. But some people get confused with that. The one we actually need is this, is continuous month. But I'm not going to do this step. We'll do the easier one, which is if you simply double-click order date, it's going to bring it in and split it by the year, right? In a discrete form is what we call it. I'm going to right-click this and change it to, because we want to see this by month, we're going to switch this to month, like so. So now you can see just the individual months. Now, this is all the months across all the years. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're doing this data set. Like if I bring in order date into rows, like so, you can see that there's data for every year. Okay, but we're only interested in one given year at a time for our dashboard build. So what we can do is we can bring this year into the filters. Okay, so I'm just gonna move this one here and we're gonna click years, go next, and we're just gonna pick one year. I'm gonna go with 2023 and go okay. Okay, so now this represents all the months, all the data for 2023. Now to make this a line chart, we need some sort of measure to show the values. And the way we can do that is simply to bring order ID in. And this one we can do a right-click drag method, right? So, and even if you can't do that, I'll show you the other method. But if you right-click drag order ID into rows, okay, and that's just using the right-click button, you can go here and just click count. And because this is a unique list, we can just use a regular count. And that will give you your line chart. Now, if you don't want to do it that way, the other way you can do it is simply double-click order ID. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring in all the order IDs as individual elements. What we want to do is we don't want them as individual elements. We want to count them. So here on order ID, we simply right-click, go measure, and count. You're going to find in Tableau, there's a lot of different ways to do the same thing. And then instead of going as a bar to the right, we want to move this one from the column section into rows. So we simply move, and now we have a line chart. That's pretty much the fundamental thing when it comes to building this visualization. So if I go back to the other one, and what have we got this filtered for? This is for 2022. I'll just filter it for 2023, just so we can match the lines. Okay, so how do you get it from what we have to this? Okay, so I'll show you a little trick. So it's really an area chart and a line chart stacked on top of one another. That's all it is. So what I'm gonna do is with this order ID, I want a second one. So let's bring order ID in again. Okay, and it's gonna give you a warning saying, do you wanna bring them in as individual elements? We say yes, that's fine. And we wanna convert this one to count as well. So it's essentially just a duplicate. Another way to do that is if you simply hold Control on your keyboard and you select this count order ID and you move it to the side, it'll actually create a second one, like so. That's an easier way to do it, all right? And we're gonna switch one of these to an area and one of them to a line. So the way we do that is this pill, we call these little circle things pills. The formatting for this one lives in here. The formatting for this one lives in here, and it kind of just keeps going. So we want to modify this top one to be an area chart. So I'll show you how to do that. The easiest way is simply click on count order ID. And when you do that, it will activate this one. You can see this is now opened up. We're going to click here on this drop down and simply go area. There you go, and it's switched it to blue. We're not concerned about the color yet because we're going to change that later. And then for this other one, if I click here, you can see on the left, it's opened this one up now. We're just gonna make this line a little bit thicker. And the way you do that is with the size button. So go here, we're just gonna thicken it up just a little bit. I leave it to you, how far you wanna go. All right, that's the next one. And then the final, well, not the final, the second final step is if you click this second one here, we're going to stack them on top of one another. And the way we do that is something called the dual axis. So if I right click, and you can only do this on the second one, dual axis is not available on the first. So right click, dual axis, watch what happens. Boom, right? And what you're gonna find is the lines don't perfectly match up because you actually have two sets of axes now. So to make sure that they align perfectly, we wanna right click this one and go synchronize axis. And once you do that, you see it's absolutely perfect now. Okay, so that's how you do the visualization. And to change the colors as you go, as you can see from the other one, let me bring it up. To change the colors is very simple. If we go in here and we click the one we did for the line, and you can see here there's actual symbol for each one that we do. So there's an area chart, that's a line chart. We just want to activate this one on the bottom. And here on color, we can pick whatever color we like. So we can go red, you know, blue, etc. You know what colors look like, all right? Right? That's it. So in terms of the actual fundamental structure of the chart, it's there. Now we want to do a little bit of formatting. And the reason we do it here is because if I jump to the other one again, because these are fundamentally all the same, if I format this first one once and duplicate it, it means I don't have to format each individual one again, right? So if I go here, and this is such a cool trick, we want to get rid of everything that we don't need, okay? So we don't actually need these lines, we don't need the axes and all that. We're going to add some labels. So here in the line chart, we're going to add a label for the highest number and the lowest number, which is probably this one. And it's just a more minimalistic way of showing a line chart, because I know a lot of people, and don't do this, is they do something like this, and it's just too much. And they always wonder, like, why does the visualization look crap? It's because don't add more things. You need to subtract. So the way we do it is we need to first get rid of stuff. So I'm going to click here on the right. We're going to click on this show header, and we're going to untick that, and that gets rid of the axes. And then if we click on this other one, that's going to get rid of that one. You can see the data is now starting to come out. We're going to right click this date and go format. And here on this date section, instead of it saying January, we just want the first letter. And again, we're just going for the really minimalistic kind of look. Because we have no axes, we don't need these grid lines anymore. They're completely useless. So the way we get rid of that is we right click the back, go format. And the grid lines is in this last section here. And let me zoom in. It's this last section, and it's in the rows section. So we go in there and we simply turn off the grid lines. Okay, and now you can see the more you take away, the more your data shines through. We need to get rid of these borders. Okay, so the border section is in here. And to get rid of these lines, these ones, which are again completely useless for us, it's these two sections here. So we're going to turn off this one, none, and then the bottom one, none. All right, there you go. The last piece is this order date, or second last piece. We're going to right click that and go hide field labels. Again, it's useless. You just want to get rid of as much as you can. And now to finish it off, we just want those data labels. So the way we do it is we can bring in order ID. Now here you actually need to use some sort of duplication or right click. So here for order ID, I'm gonna apply it to this line section. We only want it on the line. So I'm gonna use the right click on my mouse. I'm gonna right click drag the order ID to label. You can see it here. And I'm gonna go count. Okay. You can see the labels applied on every single one. We don't want it on every single one. So we're gonna click on the label here. And instead of all, we're gonna click min and max. And there you go. So that's how you build your very first one. And then to duplicate this 5 times is very, very simple. We can click on this button on the top. Excuse me. And we're going to duplicate this sheet 5 times. Oh, 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? And then we're going to apply a filter for each, and that's what differentiates between them. So this first one is going to be the total. So we're going to rename this, rename total. Then here we're going to go, I believe it's complete. Complete, due, overdue, yeah, okay. So this first one is complete. The next one is due. The next one is overdue. And this last one is yet. Okay, that's just so we don't get confused. But right now they're all the same. So here in this first one, to filter it, we're going to use order status 2. I'm going to drop that into filters. So we're going to grab that, drop it in here. Oh man, I need a drink. And then we're going to click on complete. And what that does is it's just going to filter the data for the completed orders. The next one is due. So now if I use, this time we're not using status 2, we're using order status 1. So you take that and you drop it into filters, like so. And here we're going to click on due. Done, and that's going to filter again. We're going to click on the next one, overdue, same thing, order status 1 into filters. Probably getting the hang of this now. So overdue, okay. And then the last one, which is the yet to, I think it's yet to be ordered or something. Order status 1 into filters. We're gonna go yet to begin and go okay, right? So there you have your individual ones. Now go ahead and change the colors on this. We're going to do, I think the formatting I had is a white background, yeah. So the line, we're gonna give it a color and pick whatever color you like. I'm gonna go orange for the first one. We're gonna go, let's say, green for the next one, purple for the next one, whatever we choose, red for the next one, and the last one we'll do this kind of teal side, right? Whatever color you like. All right, let's go back to the beginning, so total. Now we want the area chart to be white, and the reason is you want it to be white is because we know it's going to be a dark background. Otherwise, it just becomes a line chart, okay? So now we want to activate this second one and just change this color to white and do that for every single one. So if we go complete, okay, due, make sure you're adjusting the right one, white, oop, white, this one, white. There you go. Right, now let's put it onto a dashboard just to see how we're coming along. So to do that, we're going to create a dashboard down here. You click that button, okay? And the ratio we're going to go for, and it's a very specific ratio because the background image is 1600 by 900. So we're going to adjust this fixed size by going 1600, and this one will be 900. Okay, so now we have our template. And to make things a little bit easier for you, here on the bottom, just select floating. Otherwise, here's what's gonna happen. When you bring visualizations in, it's gonna wanna do this kind of tiling thing that really annoys beginners, and it makes it very difficult to kind of just lay things out roughly where you wanna put them. Because I tend to bring everything in, figure out the rough arrangement, and then from there, finalize where they're gonna go. And it just makes life a little bit easier. So let's click on floating down here, and let's bring in each of these individual elements. So let's bring in total, okay? And we're just gonna put it roughly where it's gonna go. So complete, and literally dragging and dropping, couldn't be easier. Due, okay, overdue, there we go, and yet. Now don't do this next part, it's just to demonstrate to you what it's gonna roughly look like. I'm just gonna bring in a blank section in the back. And again, you don't have to don't do this part. This is just for demonstration for you guys. So I'm gonna send this to back. And I'm gonna make this just a dark color. Okay. That's roughly where we're at. So we still need to get rid of the white in the back. And I'm just gonna do it for the first one. We'll do this together later. This is just so you can see roughly how it's coming together, okay? So we still have to adjust the color in the back. We still have to adjust the text. So we have a little bit more to do, but in terms of the rough, how it's gonna look and feel, we're already there. So the next stage is to build these visualizations, so the bar charts here. And I'm gonna show you guys another little trick so that you can build stuff really, really quickly. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go to the dashboard I had, and we're gonna create a new sheet just by clicking this button below. Now, you'll find that eventually when you're building dashboards, you're gonna have all these sheets that kind of fill up and it gets really confusing. So one of the tricks you can do is in your dashboard, you've already brought in these elements. So what you can do is right-click dashboard 1 and go hide all sheets. And what that does is it hides all the sheets that you've already used for the dashboard. So I can click on that and you can see now I've kind of cleaned this up. You can imagine if each dashboard has like 10 elements and you have 10 dashboards, that's 100 sheets that you're gonna see. It gets really confusing and you can make mistakes. Okay, let's go back to this and I'm just gonna revert this back to what it originally looked like before I changed it. Okay, there we go. So that's kind of what we got so far. Now let's build the bar charts. All right, so to do this, we actually have to do a formula. Before we get to that, let's do the basic bar chart. So we're gonna do chemical grade in the columns. Actually, no, I won't do that just yet. What we'll do is we're gonna count the order ID. So I'm gonna use the right-click drag method. So if I right-click drag order ID into rows, and go count, that's gonna give me a single bar. And now we wanna split it up over time. So if I take order date and do the same thing, so right-click drag order date into columns, it's gonna give me these options. The one we're interested in is month, okay? Now, I won't confuse you guys, but in this case, you can use either because we're gonna be filtering for a year. So we'll do maybe this first one actually, it'll just be easier for everyone. So month. And what that's done is converted it to a line because every time Tableau sees any measures across time, it thinks it's a line chart, but we actually want this to be a bar. So if I click on this part here, I can make this into a bar, like so. All right, pretty easy. Now we want to split this up by chemical grade. And what that does is, don't do this step. In each of these bars, okay, which is made up of rows of data, it's got chemical grade in there split up, okay? And the way to see that is if I drop chemical grade into color, you see the actual volume is the same, so 180-ish, but now it's split it up by the actual grades. But I don't want it looking like this. I want it split up across because I want each grade to have its own set of bars. So the way I'm gonna do it is if I just undo that, I want chemical grade on the columns. So I'm gonna drop that up there. Okay, and as you can see, it's now split it up by each of the grades, okay? And then what we wanna see is out of these orders, how many of these orders have actually been completed? Now you cannot just filter for completed, right? Now I'm gonna show you this. So if I bring in order status 2 and drop it into color, that's gonna give me the completed ones, which are these ones. So if I wanted to overlay the complete over the incomplete, I can't do it like this, and let me just demonstrate. So if I had order ID twice, okay, and I said, well, I want to filter this one for just complete. You cannot do that. When you apply a filter in Tableau, it applies it to the whole view. So we actually have to create a formula to pull out just the completed ones. So let me show you how that works. So if you click on this little triangle here, up there, you're going to be able to create a formula. So create calculated field. It's going to bring up this window. And we're going to call this completed orders. And the formula, I'm going to go if, and just so I can kind of set this up so you guys can see. All right. So if you're new to formulas, you can actually just search it up here, if, and it'll give you all the information that you need. It'll prompt you what you need. But for us, because I'm a pro, you can go if this, where's the status? Order status 2 and you can just drag the field in, is equal to complete, okay, then 1, else 0, end. So basically what this is doing is, in that field where we're counting the events, we're saying if the field says, if that row says complete, give me a 1, and then we can sum up all those values in that column to give us all the complete without actually doing any filtering. So it's a neat little trick. So I'm going to go OK. There we go. So now we've got this new field, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it in here, and let's have a look. Okay, so you always want to verify. So you can see here now, then 2 sets of numbers are different. Now to verify that this is actually correct, if you just look at these numbers here, they shouldn't change if we apply the order status 2 filter. So if I drop order status 2 into this filter and I go complete, the bottom number shouldn't change, as you can see, which means the formula we did is correct. It verifies it. But doing that, like you can see, the top one now matches this bottom one, which is what we don't want. So we're going to cancel this, and we're going to get rid of this filter. Don't need it anymore. Okay, so that is like the fundamental structure of the bars. Now we want to stack the completed on top of the total orders, because if I jump over to the other one, where is it? This one here. And let's zoom in. Maybe, yeah, this one here. So you can see the purple is actually the completed one, and the 18 is the total orders. So it's actually just sitting on top. So I'll show you how to do that. It's super simple. So if I go back to the other one, for this one on the right, the one on the right is the one that's going to be on top of the one on the left. Okay, so we're going to right click this and go dual axis. And when you do it, it kind of looks a little bit messy. So you got to remember, whenever you do a dual axis, there's one axis here and one axis there. We want them to be synchronized in this case because we want them to be overlapping exactly. So I'm going to right click this second one and go synchronize. And you can see now it's in the correct spot. So if that number, for example, is 17, that's what I'm expecting to see here, 17. So now we know it's matching correctly. Now we just got to fix up the colors and do a little bit of formatting, because just like in the previous example, if I jump over here, we don't want to build one viz and then do the formatting 4 times. It's a waste of time. We want to be very efficient. So in here, what we're going to do is format this as best we can, as much as we can, and then duplicate it 3 more times. And this just makes your life so much easier. So let's get to formatting. First, we want to start by getting rid of these axes. We don't need them because we're going to use data labels for a more minimalistic approach. We're going to right click this and go show header, and that just removes that one. We're going to make sure you do this after you've synchronized them, because after you synchronize them, you can't really tell anymore. So we're going to go show header. All right, so that's the first step. The other thing is, we don't want the blue and the orange to be competing visually. The key is to provide the total numbers as context and the blue to shine. So the way we do that is, for these bars, which is this first one, which is represented by this one, okay, we want this to be a different color. So in order to do that, first let's get rid of the existing color. So I'm going to go into this all section, which does formatting for the whole thing. And I want to get rid of this measure names part. I don't need that. So let's just drag it out. I tend to, when I delete things, I just drop it into this gray part. And now it has no color. And we want to go into this first one here, so count order ID, and switch this to something that kind of blends into the background. So whenever you want to show information but not have it jump at someone's face, gray is always a good color, right? You can see you can barely see it, but you can see it. So it still registers in the brain. Now this other one, I'm not going to worry about the color because each viz is going to have its own color. Now we want to add a data label for each of these, okay? So if I want just the top values for each one, okay, here's how I'm going to do it. So count order ID, we want to drop into this label. So a neat little trick for this is, whenever you're going to do formatting for this one, for example, it's good to click it first, just once, because say I'm in this one for formatting, I can accidentally drop it into the wrong section here. Oops. I can drop it into the wrong section here. So I always just click this first. You can see this one is now active. I'll show you it again. And it's the same for the other one as well. So by clicking it first, it just ensures that what you're looking at here is the same visualization component that you're going to be applying the formatting on. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Control on the keyboard, and I'm going to duplicate this count order ID into label, like so. So now you can see there's numbers for everything. Okay, we don't want numbers for everything. We just want the highest and lowest values. So I'm going to go label, and I'm going to click min max. You can see there. So it gives enough context that this is around 60, this is around 90, and everything else in between you can kind of figure out yourself. If the audience member is more interested in the general feel, but if you're working on operational dashboards, you may need every single figure. So there's that, and that's probably good for now. What we want to do next is get rid of all the lines and minimize these labels. So let's start with the extra labels. This chemical grade we don't need. So I'm going to right click it and go hide. Okay. Then for these months, I'm going to go right click, format. And here on the left for dates, I just want the first letter. Okay, there you go. And you can see, and this is one of the secrets of Tableau, is the more you take away, the more the data becomes the primary thing. People make this mistake of, let me add more and more, and then they go, well, my data just looks messy, or I can't see it, or it's hard to read. It's because you got too many things and the brain can't process that many things. Okay, so now we have all these figures. Okay, and that is basically it for the structure. Actually, no, sorry, my bad. We need to get rid of the borders. So I'm going to right click and go format. I'm going to go into here, so this one, and I'll zoom in so you can see that one there. And then the place to do the borders is, let me get my drawing tool, is this section right here, specifically this one and this one. So let's turn those off. So none. You can see it's gotten rid of that, and none. And now you're probably wondering, it's like, well, now I can't differentiate between each section. That's okay, because we're going to duplicate this and have 4 individual ones. But then that'll make you ask me, well, you have all 4 of them here. Why not just keep them the same? The reason is because I want them as individual views, so I can add, and you probably don't notice it, but it's there. It's so that I can add enough spacing around it. It's kind of what we call the breadth of the visualization. So the spacing of a visualization against the other one gives a gap for the person reading it to distinguish between the two. Obviously the colors and everything like that, but you can see that they're separate. I've seen people just read all the way across thinking it's the one set of data, right? And that's where mistakes happen. Okay, so now we got this one. We're going to call this E grade. And now we're going to duplicate this 4 times. So the way we're going to do that is up here. We're going to click this button, and that duplicates it. Or if you're more comfortable, you can right click the sheet and go duplicate. Same thing. Okay, I'm going to do it 2 more times. Duplicate and duplicate. Now let's rename this. So this one's going to be low. I'm just double clicking on this label. Standard and toxic. Oh, toxis. All right, there we go. And now we're going to filter each one for the one that we're looking at. So in this case, it's going to be E grade. So I'm going to go keep only. And I tend to do this thing systematically when I have to do a number of steps. Then I go into low. So what I'm doing here is I'm just clicking it, just left click, that's it. And this little window comes up. And if you kind of steer away, it disappears. So just click, keep only, that's it. Standard, click, oh, and if it disappears, you just hover over it again and it just comes back. Keep only, toxic, keep only. Now there's another advantage of doing it this way, in having them as individual. It's because each of them will now have their own scale. So you won't have one that's like really high in value and the others that are really small. Now they're all much easier to read. So now you can see we have all 4 pieces. And I actually made a mistake. I forgot to get rid of the grid lines, which is fine. We're not perfect. So here on the back, we're going to go format. And the grid lines part is here. It's just this grid line part, rows, and you just turn this one off. So we're just going to do that 4 times. So let's turn this one off. And as you can see, the more we got rid of, it's so clean, right? Let's go into low. Turn that off. Turn that off. And turn that off, okay? And the last one is this label up here. We don't need this label either. So I'm going to right click and go show header, right? Which just gets rid of it. Do the next one, show header, show header, show header. Okay, now let's bring these into the visualization. So I'm going to head over to the dashboard. Here we go. And make sure you've got yours set to floating to make this easier. I'm going to bring it here. Doesn't matter where, just chuck it in, because we're going to put things in containers and move things around properly later anyway. So again, we're just putting things roughly where they go. Then we're going to do low. Okay, not even concerned about the color at this stage. It is not our concern. Remember, we're just doing the framework, because right now you're building something knowing what it's going to look like. But a lot of times when we build this, we don't know what it's going to look like. And so we have to kind of play around and make it easier for ourselves if we have to make adjustments. All right, so that's it. That's how you do the bar chart section. The next part we're going to do are these actual labels. So 335 orders in 2023, 101 orders in 2023, and so on. So the year part of it is the actual filter itself. So that will change as the filter is adjusted. And then we have the same one here. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to tackle all of these labels in one go. So let's head over to our dashboard. And now what we're going to do is we're going to count the number of orders. Now, typically we would bring it into here for a bar chart, but because this is just a number, we're actually going to drop it here into text. So I'm going to right click, drag order ID into text, and we're going to count it. Go OK. And so now we have a number. Now this is the number for the whole data set, but we now need to chop it up. So here's how we do it. So for the first one, it's actually based on the status. So here we go. So I'm going to go order status 1, and I'm going to drop that into rows. Okay, there we go. So this complete and this complete are actually all the completes. That's actually going to be counted together, and then all these other ones will be counted separately. Okay, and then what we're going to do is also bring in the year. So here in order date, we're going to right click, drag into text as well. So same idea, order date, right click, drag into text. And when you do that, you're going to have all these different granularities. We're interested here on year, and go OK. All right. Don't worry when you get these hashtags. All that means is it doesn't fit in the particular view. So the way to fix this is if you go up here and just switch this to entire view. So don't panic. It's okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Entire view. And now what it's done is it's put the count on top of the year. But we don't want to show all the years at the same time. So what we also want to do is apply a filter. So we're going to right click, drag the order date into filters. So we're going to right click, drag into filters, and we're interested in years, and go next. And we're just going to pick one of these years. So to untick them all, I'm going to click none, like so. And we're just going to click 2023 for this example and go OK. Later on, we're going to expand this filter to connect to all the visualizations we've built in this dashboard. So we have one single control for everything. All right, now we just need to clean up how this looks. So the way to do that is if you click here on text and click these 3 dots. Now you can customize how it's going to look. Now in our case, it's going to be like this. I can't actually remember what it was called. Completed out of, okay, it's called completed out of. And I actually want to make this count a little bit bigger. So 12 and bold. And I'm going to hit apply just to see how it looks. You see, it's really coming along. And let's bold this year as well. Apply. Okay, so now we have the individual labels, which is exactly what we want. Okay, then we want this to be center justified. So again, in the text, we're going to go alignment and just hit this one right here. I'll just show you that again, just in case you can't see it. It's this button right here. Okay, and it just opens up from here. All right, okay, so it's really coming together. So we don't need it in this form. We want individual ones, remember? But we want to do the formatting now to make our lives easier. So I'm going to get rid of this heading. Hide this. We still want this to be split, but really it's just a filter. So what we can actually do is this order status 1, I'm gonna move this into the filters. Okay, so we're just gonna move it. We're not duplicating it like that. And the first one we're doing is complete. So complete, we want those two. If you can't see that, I'll just zoom in for a second. We just want those two for the complete. And go OK. So now we have the completed one. All right. Now for the visualization, we need 5 of these. So we want one for total orders. We want one for complete, due, overdue, and yet. So here's how we do it. We simply duplicate this 4 more times. So again, same technique. Right click, duplicate, right click, duplicate, right click, duplicate. And now we have the 4 we're interested in. Now, when it's a little bit hard to see here, because you start having a lot more visualizations, what you can do is just hide all the sheets that you've already used. So I'm going to right click this one, the dashboard, and go hide all sheets. You can always bring them back again later by just going right click, unhide all sheets. And it just makes sure that I'm not modifying something I've already built. Okay, so this one we're going to call it complete. We're just going to call it complete too. All right, next one is going to be, if I open up this filter, it's going to be due. I'm going to go OK. So you can see the number is changing. We're going to right click this, rename it to due 2. And we're just doing this for the next set. Okay, very easy. Edit the filter. This is now overdue. See, the numbers are changing. Change this to overdue. So you can see everything is systematic. We're doing everything one at a time. We're repeating it. And it's just to make sure we don't miss something. Okay, order status. And this one is yet to begin. Let's call that yet to. All right, so now we have the individual pieces. But remember, we actually also need them for here. Okay, but because the formatting is exactly the same, we can keep duplicating. So we just need another 4. So if I come back here, we're going to right click and duplicate. Now, if you want to kind of color code them, make it a bit easier. If you click the first one and hold shift and select the last one for that first group we did, I'm going to right click and go color red. It just makes it a little bit easier for you to see which ones you've already kind of worked on, and it's a way of grouping things. Okay, so for this one, we are no longer grouping by order status. So we're going to get rid of that. So just click it out and drop it into this gray part. We are now going to do it by chemical grade. So if I take chemical grade, bring it into filters, it's the exact same method. So E grade. Okay, and we're going to duplicate this 3 more times. So duplicate, duplicate. You're probably seeing now, this is just a giant magic trick. When you look at a lot of these visualizations that look very complicated, just remember they're built from very basic elements. Okay, so this is called E grade. All right, we're going to give it E grade 2. Let's do the next one. So this is now low. So we call this one low. Oh, geez, low 2. Next one is standard. We're going to call this standard 2. And the last one is toxic. Okay, I'm going to call this toxic 2. And you can see everything is starting to come together very quickly. So now we've got dashboard 1. And again, don't worry about exactly how it's going to look. Just roughly put things in place and you'll get a really good feel for the visualization you're planning to build, if it's going to flow nicely, or if everything fits, or everything makes sense on how you're going to read it. Okay, so let's start bringing this in. So we got complete 2 is going to go around about there. Right now you can see it's kind of ugly-ish. That's because of the heading. So we haven't got a huge amount of space there. So what we're going to do is just going to do that. Again, I'm not caring about how ugly it is. Okay, we're going to do due. Okay, that's that one there. It's enough for me to see. We got overdue. Here we go. Minimize this one, like so. What? Then we've got yet to, like so. All right, it's coming together. Now we've got E grade 2, goes up here. We've got low 2, standard, and toxic. All right, so you can see it's starting to come together. We are actually missing a total count, so very easy to solve. I'm going to go into complete 2, okay, one we've already built, and I'm going to duplicate this one. So duplicate, and we're going to call this total 2. All right, now to do the total, we just get rid of this because now we're not cutting it up. This just gives me the total orders for 2023. I go back to the dashboard, and we're just going to bring total 2 right here. You see how, honestly, like sometimes I forget, but when I used to use Excel before I knew about Tableau or BI tools and stuff, like to do this kind of stuff took so long. We're just doing it like click, 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 and the whole thing is done. It's just really incredible. This is why I love this software. It's like life-changing. All right, so now we've got the individual elements. We want to get rid of this title. This one right here, that's just above the visualization, because we've actually already got a title here that we're going to clean up later. Okay, so very easy to get rid of titles. Just right click on the title you want to get rid of and go hide titles. Now, if you ever want to bring it back, when you've activated it, click on the triangle and click title, and that just brings it back if you wanted to ever bring it back. Bring it back. Okay, hide title. Do that for every single one. And you can see it's all starting to come together. This one, this one, this one, and this one. You can see now it's all really starting to come together. We're going to center justify these titles. Now the way to do that is just double click it. And in here, we just center justify, just with this button right here. And again, we're not doing extreme formatting. We're just trying to see the shape of it all, of how it's going to come together. Because then it'll, I mean, the earlier you can tell that it's not working, the more time you have to just tweak it. But it's already looking pretty good. You know, we're not far off actually. And there you go. So we've got our next piece done. Now it's time to build the map, as you can see down here, right? So maps, super simple in Tableau. If you ever want to impress someone, especially a girl you like, build a map. Okay, here we go. And let's do a new sheet. So with a map, there's 2 steps, right? For the most basic map. The first step, whenever you do a map, is to make sure that the fields you're going to use for the map are geographic data types. This is where people trip up a lot. So you can see here, if I click on the symbol and I click geographic role, Tableau is usually pretty good because if you call the field country or state or something like that, it can detect it and it will automatically apply it. Sometimes it looks at the data itself, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it thinks it's just a string, like if you have just longitude or something like that. So you have to assign these the correct data, the geographical data type. You can see I have that for country, I have it for state, and so on. Then what you want to do is to build a visualization of a map, you simply double click. So in our case, we're going to do city. And if I double click that, Tableau's going to process, and you can see now it's actually plotted every city in my data set on the United States. If your one didn't appear, this is usually what happens. If you go to map, and this is sometimes when you've been using Tableau for data sets that are, you know, I don't know, maybe based on Europe data sets, and it tries to sometimes remember which one you used last. If you just click on map and go edit locations here at the top, I can't use my drawing tool, edit locations. Okay, it's going to bring up this one. So for the country region, Here, it's actually detected if it's from a field. So in our case, we actually have a country field, but some data sets you don't have that because say all your operations are in your state. So why would your data capture anything outside of that? So what you can do instead is if all your data comes from one place, you just say fixed for the country you're in. But usually when you have global data, you assign a field to it. So in this case, it's country. Tableau's already recognized it. And that is it. That's all you have to do. And for the state, same thing, but that's pretty much all you have to do. Tableau does the rest. It's great. So now what we want to do is just apply some filtering, some labels possibly. We want to show the actual states themselves. So here's how we're going to do it. If we click on map and go background layers, okay, that's going to bring up this option. The first thing we're going to switch is to normal. And that just shows the ocean, gives it a little bit more contrast, makes it a little bit easier to see. But that's as much as we're going to add for that formatting. You can go kind of nuts. And then the other thing is we want to show the city as well as the state. So here's how you do it. So if I go here onto the marks, right? Right now it's set to automatic, but actually it's just picking a circle, okay? If I switch this to map, right, it won't work because a city is just literally a dot. But if I get rid of this city part here, which is the detail, right, it's now showing the state. But I want to be able to show both. So we're actually going to use a technique we used before for the bar charts, which is a dual axis, okay? So the way we do that is we want to duplicate this longitude. So we just hold Control and move it to the side. And what that does is it's going to create two maps, and each one we can filter individually. So the one on the left, okay, this one here, and this one here, we're going to switch this one to a map. Okay, so this one's already set here, and we're going to get rid of delivery city. So if I get rid of that, what that's done is it's now looking at it at a state level. But in the second one, if I open it up, it still has city. So that's why you can see city here, even though it's set to map. Which is fine. It's exactly what we want to see. Now the coloring we're going to use, let me just see here. I believe is order ID. Yeah, that's fine. So here what we're going to do is to apply a color to the whole thing, right? We're going to go order ID, and we're going to right click drag into the all section. Okay, so this is all, and we're going to drop it into color. So right click drag into color. I'm going to go count. You can see now it's shading. So we can see that Louisiana has the highest count. All right, so next what we're going to do is just overlap the two. So to do that, we right click this second one and go dual axis, like so. So now you can see the little dot in the back, but we want this to be a color red. So the way we do that is, again, we go back to the all section, and we're going to click on color. So we click on color, we're going to go edit colors, and that brings this up. Or you can simply double click this legend, does the same thing. Okay, this one's a little bit quicker. We're going to switch this to red just to make it a little bit easier to see. Okay, and go OK. The only other thing I added was to size these circles based on the sizing. And the way you do that is we again use count order ID. I'm going to drop it here into size for the second one. Okay, so I'm going to right click drag into size, count, and now we have that. You can't see it at the moment, but if you click on size, you can actually start making them larger. And the reason that's not working actually is because this needs to be set on circle or automatic. Okay, so you can see now you can change the size. Now with maps, don't worry too much about the sizing at this stage, because once you put it into the dashboard, it will resize again. So we do that later. Okay, so for now, we just pick something that's kind of not crazy, and that is it. Okay, now I'm going to go and rename this to map. We're going to go into the dashboard. I'm going to drop it in. That's it. So where's map? Right here. Okay, we don't need all these labels, so I'm going to get rid of that, and there you have it. Now you got your very first map for some of you. Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the content so far. Before we continue, be sure to check out my website, Jellyman Education. I've put on so much training here for you guys. There's things on SQL, there's things on ChatGPT and AI tools. There's a huge in-depth set of courses for Tableau, everything from getting started, so getting started with Tableau, to being a beginner, all the way through to becoming an expert, learning Tableau online, Tableau Prep, which I am working on. And then there is more Tableau portfolio builds. So this is perfect for those going in to get a job, or you want to do a showcase and you want to show various dashboards that you can build. This takes you from start to finish on how to build these dashboards and do the showcases. There's stuff on being a data analyst. There's going to be way more that I'm still doing on SQL. There's ebooks. There's stuff on how to get a job. I mean, the list truly goes on. So if you check the link in the description below, there is a coupon there, and that will give you 2 months completely free. You simply use the coupon. It'll take you directly to the page, put your details in, and you've got access for the next 2 months to all the content absolutely for free. Try it as much as you like. It's $0 sign up, $0 cancellation fee. I just want you guys to have as much resources as you can to really help you move forward in your careers. We're coming very close to having all the elements of the skeleton, if you will, of the dashboard. Okay, so let's begin with the title. Very easy. So if we jump over to the other one, you can just see how it's going to look. Powerplant stock tracking. Let's go ahead and do that. So here on the dashboard section, we're going to come down here to text, and we're simply going to drag that up here. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're just trying to put all the elements where they're supposed to go. And again, make sure you've got this set to floating. Otherwise, it's going to try and tile itself. Okay, and we're going to do capitals, power plant stock tracking. And we'll make it, again, I'm not too concerned, we'll go 48. Might be a bit too big, doesn't matter. We're just trying to see where it's all going to fit. Okay, that's probably a bit too big, but that's fine. Okay, so that's the first one. Now, to do the text down here, it's the exact same idea. It's just different formatting. So we're going to bring text in again from this left side and just drag it over here. Doesn't matter where you put it. And we're just going to type whatever at this stage. There we go. And go OK. And once we have it, we're just going to put it roughly where it's going to go. There you have it, right? So now we have the text box in there, and that's really just a placeholder at this stage. If you really want to see what it's going to look like, to open it up, just double click. And I'm just going to copy and paste this a number of times. Okay, paste, 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 paste. And now you can see roughly how the text is going to look. Again, you're just looking for the structure. Now the last piece is the filter itself. Now, if you've never done filters before, it can get a little bit confusing until you understand that you have a lot of flexibility with filters, which is you can have a filter apply to just this. So when you adjust the filter, it only applies to that. Or you can have a global filter, which is when you tweak it, it's going to adjust everything on your dashboard, which is what we want. So we're going to start with this one on the top. Now with filters, you got to make sure that if you want to bring in a filter, it needs to be in use in that visualization. So if I open this up, okay, so this is that visualization that we're just looking at there. You can see that the year is actually already in here. If it's not in here or it's not in the visualization somewhere, it will not appear. So for example, the word product ID, okay? If I go back to the dashboard and I click on this triangle after activating it and I go filters, you're not gonna see product ID in there. It's only the elements we've used, okay? So make sure you got that step. Now, if I bring in year of order ID, year of order date, it's gonna create a filter here. If you clicked it and it didn't appear anywhere, sometimes if you go into, let me go down here. Okay. If you go into the layout section, every element you have on the dashboard, every filter, every label, everything is actually here in the item hierarchy. So if you can't see it there, just look for it in here. So say this is like hidden behind this thing. If I click on any one of these, see how it activates it? It's a clever way of finding something if you can't actually see it, but you know it's there. Okay, so now you can see this is set to 2023. Watch what happens if I select 2020. nothing changes except this one. Because this filter right now is only linked to this visualization. So we want it to link to everything. And it's really simple. We just click on the triangle and go apply to worksheets and go selected worksheets. And once we get to that, it's going to show a full list of every single sheet inside our dashboard. Sometimes you don't want it to apply to everything. Sometimes you want it on everything. The easiest way, if you want it on everything, is just click this button here, select all on dashboard. And if I click on that, you see everything gets ticked and we go OK. That's it. Okay, so give that a few seconds. You can see everything in the background is now stitching and kind of working together. So now let's see what happens. If I change this to 2021, everything should alter or change. You can see that's happening. But right now, the behavior of the filter is not what we want, because you can see, say someone wants to go 2021, 22, 23. Every time they click it, the page has to refresh. We want it that they just select one at a time. So if I click on the triangle here, and I go down here, we just want single value drop down. And if I click on that, you can see it's actually switched to this kind of format. And it just makes it a lot easier for them to select one at a time. So the user experience has to be there, okay? So now let's just adjust this. I'm gonna grab the handle up here. So whenever you're moving an element, you're always grabbing it by this little handle. I'm gonna move this to the top right. Bang, right there. Now we have a working filter. Okay, so now we've got every single element in our dashboard. Next comes the styling. Now that we've got all the dashboard elements, we can now move on to styling. Here we are on the dashboard. A lot of the times when a dashboard doesn't really flow nicely, or it kind of looks kind of jagged and not in the right place, it's because the alignment is off. So for example, see how this one is lower than this one's all over the place. So the way we fix this to make your life much easier is to use something called containers. So we're gonna start with, maybe we'll do here on the top right section. So all of this, you can see how it looks right now. It's just not really neat. There's no spacing and it just doesn't look very nice. So let's bring in the containers. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make some space for us to work in, just for now. Okay. And here in the dashboard section, you're going to see vertical container. And what I want to do is I want to bring a vertical container for each one of these, because what we're going to do is stack this part and this part into that single container. So let's go ahead and do the first one together. So vertical container, I'm gonna bring it in. Again, make sure you're in floating mode. This will make your life a whole lot easier. I'm gonna do, there's one there. Let's bring another one. So we're just gonna do this very systematically. Repeat the steps, sort of like a production line. There we go. And the fourth one, there we go. So now we're going to bring this into here. Now here's what happens. If I bring this in, see how it doesn't want to drop in the container? That's because whenever you switch from floating mode, which is this, versus tile mode, which is what's in here, you have to be able to change the type, right, to go from one to the other. And it's as simple as holding shift on the keyboard. So if I go here and hover, see nothing happens. If I press shift, it goes inside. That's it. Okay. There you have it. That's an easy way. Let me show you that again. Hold shift and you go in there. I'm going to do it for the top one as well. So I'm going to drag this, and you want to drag it at the top of this section. So you see how it highlights there? We want it on the top. There you go. I'm going to do this for every single one. So hold shift, drop. Grab the handle, hold shift, drop. Again, just very systematic. Hold shift, drop. Hold shift, drop. Hold shift, drop, and hold shift, drop. And you'll see very quickly how this cleans up. Now we want all of these individual containers, okay, to go into another container. And the reason for that is we want it to be all aligned and evenly spaced. Okay, so here on the left, we're going to use a horizontal container. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to grab one of these. Here we go. I'm going to move it like that. And now we're going to grab the container. Now here's where people kind of mess up a bit. elements go in a container, and that container can go into another container and another container. And if you ever wanted to see that kind of hierarchy, if you go into the layout section, it's actually all in here. So you can see that, for example, E grade 2, this element and this element here is actually inside a vertical container. All right, see how that's laid out? And as you put more things, that's the hierarchy. So now what we want to do is take the container here, and the way to select it, the easiest way is simply click any element inside and double click the handle. And see it's turned blue. I am now selecting the container, and you can also tell from that it's now being highlighted. And I'm going to move, excuse me, I'm going to move this container, you can see the whole thing moves now, into here. Now remember, we're going to go from floating, which is this one, into tiled. So we have to hold shift again. And you can see that's now filling out the whole thing. We do it for the next one. So click any element inside, double click the handle. I'm going to grab this handle, hold shift, and we want it here on the far right. You see that on the far right? Now they're side by side. I'm going to do the same thing here. So click the element inside, double click the handle to activate the container, grab it, hold shift, put it to the right. There you go. And you can see now everything is lining up so nicely. I'm going to click the element inside, double click the handle, grab the handle, hold shift, and put it here on the right. There you go. Now look how perfectly aligned that is. And some people think I'm pedantic, but this is the difference between things kind of looking messy and disorganized to having something really refined like this. You see how everything is just very neatly packed, packed properly, okay? Excuse me. Okay, so now what we want to do is, if you want to select the biggest container, again, it's just clicking container as you go up. So click an element inside, double click, you select that container, and if you double click it again, it selects the biggest container. That's all it is. And we're going to just roughly put it where it's going to go and put it in here. Okay. Now, if you look at the other one that we had, okay, it's a black background with a white border. Okay. The other thing you'll notice is there is spacing, and I'm going to do the spacing last to show you the impact of spacing. It's the thing that I don't see people do enough, and it's the easiest thing to do. Okay. So I'm going to double click until I get the biggest container, okay? That one right there. And I'm gonna go into layout right here. And the one we're gonna modify are these two. So on the border, we're gonna go for white, okay? And you probably won't see it because we have a white background for the moment. And then for the background, I'm gonna go black. Now you're probably going, well, the other one wasn't black. It actually is black, but it's got some opacity, meaning it's see-through. And this is a trick so that when you have a background that's kind of a darker color, you can still kind of see the background in the back, and it looks pretty nice versus just super solid color. You can see that it's just faintly, you can kind of see it in the back. That's the trick, okay? So there you go. Now the first thing you'll notice is that each element actually has its own background, okay, of white. We want to get rid of that. So the way you do it is for each element, we're going to right-click, Format. Then we're going to go into this paint, and I'm just going to zoom in so you guys can see. We're going to go paint, and we're going to change this to none. And that just makes the background empty. Okay. None. And we're going to do that for every single one. I'm just going to left click the next one, because if you're already in this formatting section, every element that you click, so if I click this, it'll automatically be here already. Neat little trick. None. None. You can see it's coming together very nicely. And I hope you guys are thinking like, it's not all that complicated. It just looks complicated the first time you see it. But it's once you start adding all these really basic things, it's super doable for even the most beginner people that I've trained. Okay, there you go. Right? Now, as you can see, it's all so tight. It just does not look very good. Okay? So what we want to do is add something called I think it's called padding. I'm trying to remember. Yes, padding. So here, if I double click an element, right, I am now working in this container. What I'm trying to do is add some inner padding inside. Okay, so if I do that and go inner padding, we're just going to go with 15. And you can see even 15 is enough to give it just some spacing, okay? We're gonna do that for each one. So click the element, double click, inner padding of 15. Make sure you're in the layout section, double click, we're in the container, 15, double click this, and we're gonna go 15, okay? There you have it. Now the other thing that's bothering me is the bar charts are pretty thick. It's always nice, like spacing is always going to be your friend. So what I'm going to do is for each of these bars, we're just going to reduce the width of these bars. Okay, so for this one, I've activated it. If I go here and just click this button, I can go to the sheet just from here, and it just makes it a whole lot easier rather than trying to find it from the bottom. So click on that. Okay, we're now in the sheet. And here in the all section, I'm going to adjust this size to be at half. Okay, we do the next one. You can see a lot more spacing, makes it easier for the eyes. Do the next one. Do the next one. You know, Tableau after a while becomes very therapeutic. Because it's not something you really have to think all that hard. It's not like you're writing code or anything. Okay, so there you go. And now we're going to adjust the colors for each one of these. Okay, so again, very systematic. Let's go in here. Now you can see this one is set to blue. What we're interested in is a different color. So in this one here, which is this one, which is these ones here, we're going to set this to just, and you can pick whatever colors you like, so long as they're all different from each other. So we'll go with green, go with this one. We're going to go here to some, we're going to go purple. There we go. We're going to go to this one, some. We're going to go with, let's go orange. Let's go to this one, some. I'm going to make this, what haven't I picked yet? Red. Okay, there you go. All right, now to see this as white text, just as a little trick for now, just to kind of preview what it's going to look like, if you go Format Workbook, this adjusts the formatting for the whole workbook. That means everything that you have. And it's a great way for you to avoid going in here, changing this to white, changing this to white. You know, it's just a big waste of time. So here in the first one, we're just going to pick the white color. And give that a second because it's adjusting it for the whole workbook. All right? And you can see it's really coming together now. Yeah, looks pretty damn good to me if you ask me, right? That looks pretty cool. And it's just a lot of basic features. Okay, so that's it for that. And what I'll do is before we go, let's just set that back to black because we still have to do this one on the left side. So the next part we're going to format is this one right here. Okay, so it's a very similar idea to the previous one, but we're going to be using containers in a little bit of a different way. So again, we're just going to make some space. So I'm going to move this all the way to the left because we don't need it right now. And even this one on the top, I'm just going to double click an element, double click, double click. Now I've got the full thing and I'm just going to put that over there. All right, just so we have some real estate. So when you think of this one in containers, again, we're trying to control it so it's all nicely spaced. You have a top section, a middle section, and a bottom section. So we want that to be all evenly spaced. And then within each one of these, we actually have another one here. Oh, sorry, hang on. So we have this one. We have the three, like this. And then we have two. So you can see this one is actually stacked, just like we had before. So it's going to be like this. Okay, like that. And so we have to arrange our containers as such. So it's actually like this. Okay, so there's a lot more containers in this, but trust me, it is worth it because once you get it set up, it's so easy to make it look nice. People waste time trying to tweak it so it's perfectly in place and they just struggle, okay? Struggle town. All right, let's do it. So first we're gonna do these individual elements. So we need 4 vertical containers. So here in the dashboard section, we're gonna go vertical container. Let's bring that in. So vertical, here we go. Oh, that's the first one. Let's bring another one. And again, just systematic, piece by piece. This actually also helps you to avoid a step because If you do all the formatting for one piece, and then you try to do all the formatting for another piece, it's really easy to miss a step, okay? So now let's do complete to. Again, you have to hold shift. So grab the handle, hold shift to bring it in. For this bottom one, grab the handle, hold shift, bring it in, okay? Next one, grab the handle, hold shift, grab the handle, hold shift. Now you can see why we do this at the very end. Once we've decided on our setup, because once you've got the containers all set up and you have to change it, it's kind of annoying. So it's best just to have it the way you want by building that skeleton. So yet to, drop in there, grab the handle, hold shift, and drop it in. So now we've got all these pieces. Now we want to put a container like this, okay? And the reason we do that is so we can have it evenly spaced across the middle. Okay, so let's do that. So we need a horizontal container. We put one there, like so, and put one there. Now you're probably asking, like, why don't I just set up all the containers in the first go and then drop things in? The reason I don't do that is because it's very easy to accidentally drop it in a container other than the one that you're thinking, just because of the way Tableau does it. So it's good to build it in individual pieces. So here we go. Let's grab this one, double click for the container, grab the handle, hold shift, and drop it in. There we go. Click the element, double click, grab the handle, hold shift, and we put it here on the right. Now, some of you will have it and it looks like this, and this is where containers is super helpful. If I click on an element and double click until I get the full container, if I click this triangle, I'll get this option, distribute contents evenly. There you go, and it's perfectly spaced. No matter how big I make it, it will always be perfectly spaced. That is the advantage of containers. It's just so easy to control, and you can pop things in and out easily in groups. Let's grab this element, double click, drag, shift, drop it in. Next one, activate, handle, double click, click the handle, hold shift, and then drop it in. Now we're ready for the final piece, which is a vertical container for the whole thing. Okay, there we go. All right, here we go, here we go, here we go. So let's bring in this first one. So again, click an element, double click until you get the full container. We're gonna grab it, hold shift, and drop it in. Okay, do this for the bottom one, double click, and get the whole container, grab the handle, hold shift, and we want it here on the bottom. Now see, this is what I'm talking about, where sometimes you try and put it across the bottom and Tableau doesn't want to do that. See how it tries to put it on the top, but you have trouble in the bottom. Sometimes when that happens, if you click this, entire container, just move it up a bit. Sometimes it's just the screen. You can't actually grab the handles. Okay, hang on. Okay, here. So now I'm in the biggest container, and just to confirm, if you go here in layout, just make sure this highest one is selected. Okay, I'm just gonna move it up, give myself some space. Sometimes it's just a spacing thing. Okay, let's try it again. Handle. Okay, let's bring it in, hold shift, and you can see that option is now there. Sometimes it's just the way the screen is set up. If that still doesn't work, here's another trick. If you go to the dashboard, look for blank. You see right there. Okay, and that's literally just a square tile. That is sometimes easier to bring in than another section. So let me show you how that works. So if I hold in blank, right, we want it to be tiled, so we're gonna hold shift. This one is a little bit easier to control. I don't know why, it just does. So if I drop that in, see, now I've got a white space. Okay, so now if I bring in this one, if I double click, if I drop this underneath, it's a little bit easier because Tableau doesn't get confused that there's another section above. You can see that. That's where it gets confused. So if I drop it here on the bottom, it makes it much easier, and I can simply get rid of this white one. It's just a little trick. If it does happen, doesn't always happen, but now we've got all of those. And the last piece is this one up here, okay, which we haven't done yet. So we're gonna do a vertical container first. So vertical, let's bring in these two elements. So grab the handle, drop it in, grab the handle, drop it in. By the end of this, you guys will be experts at tiling and floating and all that stuff. Okay, grab the handle, bring it in, and then hold shift and bring it to the top. And there you have it, okay? Now we wanna select the highest container. So double click, and then click on the triangle, distribute contents evenly. All right, and that'll split the 3 nicely. And we're gonna move this over here, and I can see finally what it's gonna start looking like. There you have it. See how nicely organized it is. Okay, beautiful, love it. All right, so the next one is if I go into the other one, you can see here we've got, again, a black background with white borders for each, except the total orders. So let's do that. So let's go into here, and we're going to first apply a black background on the highest container. So if I go in here, keep double clicking the handle, we've got the whole thing now. Go into layout, and we're gonna go background, black, with some opacity. Let's go 80%, something like that. Okay, so now you can see where your borders are or where they're, if they're not there. Okay, so we need a white border on the big one. There you go. And then we need borders on these little ones. Okay, so we're gonna click an element, double click. Then we're going to add a white border. You see, now it's starting to come together. White border, element, double click, white border, element, double click, white border. Okay, there you go. It's all starting to come together, which is great. And then we want to add the padding for each. And this is, I always feel this is the part that just finalizes it, okay? So let's click an element, double click, and here on the inner padding, let's set it to 15. Click an element, double click, again, very systematic, 15. Click the handle, 15. Click the handle, 15. Sometimes I even go as far as 20, 25, just depends on the visualization I'm working with, but space is your friend. Okay, let's now get rid of that white spacing, or the white color. Again, we're not adjusting the internal widths yet. I'm gonna right click here, go format, and we're gonna go into this paint can and just switch this to none. So none. Click the next one. So I'm just left clicking here because I'm already in this page for formatting. None, 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 and this one, none. Okay, there you go. Now if I go back to the other one, I'm going to show you something else. You see here how there's padding in this section. I'll zoom in. I've got padding here, but I've also got padding in between. That is called the outer padding. So we're going to add that as well. Go back here. So in each of these containers, okay, let's go layout and outer padding. Let's go 15 as well. Again, double click till we get the container. Make this 15. Double click. We're going to go 15. Almost there, guys. Double click. We're going to go 15. There you go. Now let's bring back these other elements so we can see how the whole thing looks together. Okay, there we go. Let's bring the map. There we have it. And then we're going to change the whole format of the workbook to white. So now we can actually start seeing how it looks. And actually what I'm going to do before we do that is if you click on this text box, we're just going to apply a background on this as well of just 80%. Okay, there we go. And we'll also add the white spacing, the black band up here, okay, which I'll show you on the other one. You see there's like a black band at the top. That's easy. That is just a blank here. And we just put it all the way across the top. That's it. So I'm going to grab a blank. Oop, blank right there. Again, I'm just going to put it anywhere. And here's the secret. So the width of this dashboard is actually 1600. So what we're going to do is in layout, you can like explicitly control where things are positioned. So we want this in the top corner. So we're going to give this position 0, 0. That puts it right in the corner. Okay. And we want the width to be the width of the dashboard. So that's 1600. And the height to be, let's say 80 for now. See how that looks. Maybe a bit longer. There we go. And then I want to put this on the back. Okay, so we're going to click on this triangle, go floating order, and go send to back. And the last bit is change the color. So here on background, we're gonna go black, and we're just gonna increase the, drop the opacity to about 80. Okay, now we can apply the formatting. So if I go format workbook, we're gonna go text white. Watch what happens. Boom. Boom. a bit of a delay, but that's okay. So you can see now it's all coming together. All these hash symbols is because it's just not quite fitting. So we have to do some final adjustments. Okay, maybe drop the text size or something like that. All right, so a little bit of adjustment here and there, but all in all, it's all slowly coming together. Okay. All right, just adjust. So you can see we're getting there, we're getting there. All right, we are nearing the end of the format, and we can see we just need a little bit more refinement, and we are getting so close. All right, so let's now bring in the background wallpaper. Okay, so the way we do that is if I go to image, I'm gonna bring it in here. You can see it's floating. And this is the way I prefer to do it. Okay, as soon as you drop an image, it's gonna do this, give it a few seconds, and it's gonna go, where's the image? So we're gonna go choose. I'm gonna look for the image that was part of that file that we got as the working files. Okay, here we go, Powerplant. I'm gonna go working files, and it's this one right here. Okay, that's our background. We're gonna go open. I'm gonna go center image. I'm gonna go okay. That's gonna create the image for us. There we go. Now you can see it's on top of everything else. So what we're gonna do before we kind of put it in the back is just get the placement right. So here in layout, there we go. Let me just draw a square here. We're gonna set this to 0, 0, and this bottom one will be the ratio of the dashboard itself. So we're gonna go 0, 0. The width will be 1600 and the height will be 900. You can see this will cover the whole thing. There we go. And then lastly, if you click on this little triangle here, I don't know if you can see that, this little triangle, let's open that up. There we go. We're gonna go floating order and then send to back. Okay, we're gonna go format workbook. Okay, and we're gonna change the font. Okay, now this I like to do at the end, more just for my own enjoyment. So we're gonna go, I think it was TWSenMT. TWSenMT, right? That's what they used to call me in high school. All right, enter. And just changing the font really does make a big difference. You see, just give it a few seconds. Okay, it's doing its thing, doing its thing. There we go. We also wanna adjust the titles. Okay, so here we're gonna go into worksheet titles. And instead of, actually 15 is pretty good, but I just wanna add some bolding. And that's gonna bold all these titles for us very easily and very quickly. Okay, there you go. So you can see everything is really coming together very nicely. Let's add the logo up here. So I'm gonna go into dashboard. I'm gonna go image once again. Should drop it anywhere for now. Give it a second. We're gonna go choose and look for this logo. And it's got a transparent background. Open. We're gonna go center image and go okay. Okay, there we go. This one doesn't have a transparent one, but that's okay. I'll fix it up in the download file. I must have added the wrong one, but don't worry about that. I will update it before you guys can even download it. It's fine. Okay, but the process is the same. So I've got it right there. I'll fix it before the next video. The other thing is you see up here with the order date, the text is not visible. So here, if you go click on the triangle and go format, we're gonna go this filter or set control. And on the left for the body, we're just gonna set this to black. Okay, the top one we're gonna set to white. Okay, and that's the actual label at the top. Yeah, just place that there. Okay, so you can see everything is now nicely coming together. Now let's get the total alignment right. This one you can eyeball because the pieces are already kind of pretty organized. Okay, so if I double click this one, we're just gonna make sure there's enough spacing on the edges, and I tend to make all the spacing the same, like so. Okay, we adjust this one. Again, we're just going to eyeball. These ones are easy because you only got like a few. If you really want to be precise of its positioning, if you activate the whole one, you can see its Y position. So this one's 132. This one is 132, so we got it perfectly. Let's just space this out a little bit. Again, space is your friend. Like so. Like so, like so. Okay. And put this one here. And this one on the bottom, you can literally write whatever you like. I just will go to ChatGPT and have something written, so we can say technical specs, you know, whatever, toxicity, and then whatever you can add, okay? You can just add this yourself. I'm gonna make this 14 and bold, 14 and bold. We'll make this one 11, make this one 11, okay? And let's just copy this. Again, a lot of the times this is just placeholders to see how things are gonna look. Go okay. See, that's how it's gonna look. Now this last one, you can see here, this also needs a black background. So we're gonna activate it. I'm gonna go here into the layout section, background black. Okay, we're gonna drop the opacity to 80. And I can kind of actually tell all the opacities aren't exactly the same. So that's something we just have to make sure we've got it all set correctly. Okay, so we got 80% there, 80%. This one's 81, so let's just go 80. Okay, and again, you're probably going, why not just set it exactly at 80? Well, that's because when you're building this, you don't know if 80 is gonna be good, so you just eyeball it, because you might have to tweak it again later. Okay, there you go. And in here, and this is a small thing, you can see how it's all the way to the edge. So here we can add some inner padding as well, even though it's by itself. So I'm gonna go inner padding, 15. Okay, and you see it just gives enough breathing room. Same thing for the text. 15 inner padding. Okay, and again, it's the spacing is your friend. Just remember that. Okay, look at that. Just like that, the dashboard is done. My gosh, right? The other thing I probably will just adjust is probably just the headings. Okay, so here we go total order. Total order. It's invisible because the text is white. That's the only thing that gets a bit annoying for this section. Total orders. We're going to adjust this to be complete. This will be due. This will be overdue. This one will be yet. This one will be E grade. Oops. Okay. Low. Standard. Let's go. Toxic. Okay, there you go. And I think this one what did I call it? Powerplant delivery locations. Okay. Okay. You can see there, and I spelled delivery wrong. There we go. Okay, let's add the little white background for these ones. White and white. And that is it. We are done. Now that we've completed the styling, it's time to work on deployment. So there's two deployments we're going to do. One is to Tableau Cloud, the other is to Tableau Public. So let's start with Tableau Cloud. In order for that to happen, you have to have a Tableau Creator license. That means a paid license. If you work for an organization, you will already have this. So the process is as follows. So here in the dashboard, we're going to go server, and you're going to sign in. All right, I am now signed in, and the way you know you're signed in is under server, you're going to see signed into and then the site that you've signed into. So publishing is pretty simple. You simply click on publish workbook here. It's going to open up a window, and these are all the settings for what you're going to be publishing. So in this case, there's a whole bunch of folders that are available, so locations that I can publish to on my Tableau Cloud website. I'm just going to choose default for now. And then we're going to give it a name. So I'm going to call it Powerplant. Now in my one, you're going to see a little warning because I've already published it to test this, but your one won't say that. You can leave a description. And then here on the sheets, you can actually select which ones you want to publish. Now, these are all our individual sheets that we use to make the workbook. You can see down here. We don't want to publish that. We just want the workbook. So what we're going to do is click on Sheets, and we're going to select None. Okay, that deselects everything. And we're just going to click on Dashboard 1. You can see 1 of 11 selected. And then we're just going to hit Publish. That's it. Right? It's going to ask me if I want to overwrite. That's in my case. Then it's going to process it. And then once you've done all this, it may ask you to sign in or something like that, but then it's going to take you directly to Tableau Cloud. Now here we are in Tableau Cloud. You can see my dashboard is now available. If I click on this, it will open it up. And much like a stakeholder, I can come in and see the latest results. That's the beauty of Tableau Cloud. Now we're going to jump and do Tableau Public. So here we are in Tableau Public, and Tableau Public is really just a public library of visualizations that the Tableau community have shared, and we can do the same thing. So please note, this is a public forum, so if you publish anything, it's public. So don't be using any sensitive information, any privacy marked information. Be very careful with that. So now let's jump into Tableau Desktop. And if you're going to publish this from Tableau Desktop, the way you do it is you click on Server. We're going to go Tableau Public. We're going to go Save to Tableau Public As. Now it may ask you to sign in, and that's fine. But there is one thing it's going to ask you, and I'm going to explain this, which is extracts. Okay, so first it's going to ask me to sign in. And then you're going to get this window. So with Tableau Public, you need to provide data along with the visualization. Because remember, Tableau Desktop sits on top of the data set. In Tableau Public on the website, we need to also submit the data set. So we need to create an extract. So we go create data extract, and it's going to ask me where to save it. We're just going to leave this as standard, save settings. It's going to ask me where I want to put this extract that we're going to send off. I'm just going to drop it into downloads. And now we're back here. Let's try it again. We're going to go Server, Tableau Public, Save to Tableau Public As. Let's see if it works this time. Okay, so now it's working. We're just going to call it Powerplant Tutorial version 1. Save. It's going to stitch the dataset and the workbook together. It's going to compile all the views, and then it's going to send it to Tableau Public. And there you have it. So now here we are in Tableau Public. It is now part of my profile. If you are going to publish a Tableau Public using the free version of Tableau, here's how you do it. So I've just got a blank one here. Instead of it being under Server, it's going to be under File. And you simply go Save to Tableau Public As, and oh wait, it's this one, and it's the exact same process after that. And that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. There's still more on the way. There's heaps I've already designed. Be sure to check out the website, Jellyman Education. Check out the YouTube. There's heaps of learnings for you guys. So see you next time.